Okay, so here's your part 2 as promised. So the thing with this Scorpio new moon, right? A new moon is talking about clearing energy, right? The moon is actually dark, so it's talking about, not having anything to say yet. It just finished out something, it just closed out a cycle. There's a new cycle that's beginning. So it's a really good time to start writing down wishes and things like that. Transformative energy is what we're working with. So we're thinking of things that have been energy that we've been stuck in, that we would like to free ourselves from. Sometimes we even need to free ourselves from the confines of our own marginalizations that we've placed upon ourselves, right? Mars, Pluto, right? Sometimes we are passive aggressive, right? I know I have Pluto in my first house, so I can be passive aggressive sometimes. I'm not a passive aggressive person, but I can be if it's, triggered or initiated in some kind of way. But it has to do with fairness with me because I have Pluto in Libra. But the second half of my first house is Scorpio, so don't sleep. And I also have Saturn in Scorpio, right? But the new moon is definitely talking about clearing this old energy that we find ourselves fixed in, trying to always make sense of. Things that have left our lives, things that we can't really control, deeper meanings behind things, reconnecting to parts of our past that we probably have shied away from or just didn't feel close to, things like that. Wherever it is that you feel like you've been emotionally torturing yourself, right? Where other people may have tortured you emotionally, right? Inadvertently. Maybe they didn't know, but maybe they knew that what they were doing was wrong, but maybe they didn't see the effects, right? Because Scorpio talks about the effects of the emotional awareness, right? I know I feel this way, and this is how I'm being affected by it, right? And then it's also having to do with things that you can't control. You know what I mean? Maybe you were raped or something like that. And there's something that that's something that you just can't explain to some people. You can't talk. That's why a lot of people who have, sexual harassment or who have been violated, it's a secret that they keep for a long time because they don't know how to tell people that it's happened to them. Or people who are in domestic relationships that are, have domestic violence issues, you know what I mean? Or even psychological issues, because two people could be at war in the mind, right? Psychologically, right? Okay, and we're thinking about Mars too, because Mars rules the head, so it is talking about psychology, right? And psychiatry, right? That's more Gemini, but Gemini is Mercury is the esoteric ruler of Aries, okay? And Uranus is the higher octane of Mercury. And Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, right? And we can't talk about intimate relationships without going into just kind of your the relationships that are sort of at the forefront, right? Or the relationships that are kind of fixed in our lives, or not fixed in our lives, but the relationships that are kind of social, right? Like how when we go to work and we see people at work, right? Or when we go out and experience pleasure, we see people there, so they see us happy and stuff like that. But then there's other parts to that, the going back, right? It's like sometimes you feel those moments of happiness, right? But then it's followed by sorrow, right? Because you have to have the mix, right? You have to have that balance. And Libra's talking about balance. And that's, one-on-one relationships with groups of people, relationships with institutions, all of that. But then there are secrets and things that happen within those relationships and within those institutions that couldn't have been revealed at the very beginning of the acquaintanceship, right? Or the meeting. Because those are things that we keep secret, and those are things that we would rather not talk about, and those are things that, we just kind of don't think that other people will understand because they haven't been there and they're not us, right? But that's because, Taurus actually opposes Scorpio, right? And Uranus is there right now. Uranus doesn't like to be in Taurus. But Taurus is talking about ways that we can understand each other because we are trying to, right? Or because we are in a place that we can, right? We brought ourselves to an understanding and an appreciation, right? Also, it's kind of like what you allow to with Taurus, right? What are your conditions, right? So sometimes, just because that's your conditions, you have been conditioned, right? And your conditions are different than other people's conditions. That means that you may not understand each other, right? And here we go, we're talking about the mind and the psychology of things, right? With Mercury, Uranus, and Mars. And I didn't even really bring Mercury up, but he is the planet that's going to be going retrograde in Scorpio. You really can't make this stuff up. So yeah, sexual rebirths, you know what I mean? Power and control of those sexual urges, the expression of those sexual urges. How are they being expressed? Are they being expressed through sex? Are they being expressed through showing love? Are they being expressed through building, making things? Are they being expressed by just using your energy to make things happen? You know what I mean? And then when you're not really thinking about what it is that your desire is your desire nature, the effects that it has, right? When you seek that which you desire, whether it be positive or negative, then you deal with the consequences of that. And sometimes those are the hard lessons that you have to learn to be able to control yourself, right? Because it's really not about controlling other people, it's about controlling yourself, right? We're gonna have I have thoughts that come in all damn day long that are crazy. But that's just because of Pluto being there. And I have Sun in 12. So there we go, Pisces, thinking of all the crazy stuff. Oh, it's so dreamy, Neptune, right? Pluto is clairvoyant. Scorpio is naturally clairvoyant. They're very good detectives, just like a Libra would be. And, this new moon is really asking us to clear out some things, right? The muck, the old things. It's really about rebirth, right? And before I sat down, I saw a hawk. There's the bird saying it is really about rebirth. And the hawk sometimes, it reminds us of eagles and in that bird family, right? The scavenger birds. Our birds are scavengers, I guess. But, those are the bigger ones. And, the phoenix, the eagle, those are all representations of Scorpio energy, aside from the scorpion. And, Scorpio is an arachnid, like a spider. It's like an elongated spider, right? So we're also talking about fear and not being afraid of those things that we felt like were holding us back before, because we may have felt marginalized or conditioned to be a certain way. You do have to clean yourself of energy or strip yourself of energy that others have placed upon you that wasn't yours, and you have to realize that sometimes things aren't yours. Let karma do what it's going to do. Definitely do all of the work that you have to do to forgive yourself and to forgive other people, and understand that this is your journey. This is your life. You were born alone. You are experiencing your life and its conditions and circumstances alone, whereas other people are there. They're supporters of your story, right? There's some major players, but really it's about you and how you feel about everything that's happening, right? And what you do with that, right? Let your spirit be your guide. And stay tough, you know what I mean? But also stay soft. Let that water flow. Unplug that drain, right? Filter out the traumas. I'm not saying just kind of like forget that they were there. If that's what you need to do, then that's what you need to do. I posted a hashtag on the Providence Tarot page today on Instagram that said, forgive you, forgave you, forgot you. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. If you're on IG, follow me on YouTube, Providence Tarot. If you're watching on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, Providence Tarot. And I'm also NYC Kendrick on Instagram. Okay? Thank you so much. I will see you guys later. If you'd like a reading, providencetarotkendrick@gmail.com.